Hey, I'm Elise, and I'm at a point where I really need some advice. I'm dealing with a situation that's tearing me apart, and I feel stuck in a cycle of confusion, jealousy, and self-doubt. I thought it might help to put everything down in writing and see if anyone out there has gone through something similar or can offer some guidance. To start, let me tell you a little about myself. I'm 28 years old, and I've been with my fiancé, Adam, for 3 years. We met through mutual friends, and from the moment we first talked, there was a spark between us. Adam is charming, handsome, and incredibly charismatic. People are naturally drawn to him, and he has this way of making everyone around him feel special. It's one of the things that initially attracted me to him, but it's also become one of the things that drives me crazy. I've always struggled with jealousy and insecurity, stemming from a pretty rough childhood. Growing up, I had a complicated relationship with my mother. She was often critical and emotionally distant, making me feel like I was never good enough. This left me with a constant need for validation, and I've carried those feelings into adulthood. To make matters worse, I had a series of toxic relationships in my past that left me feeling broken and distrustful. Adam, on the other hand, had his own demons. He grew up in a violent neighborhood and had a rough childhood. His father was abusive and he struggled to fit in. Adam often talked about how he had to fight for everything he had and how that shaped him into the person he is today. Despite his past, Adam has worked hard to create a better life for himself, and I admire him for that. But sometimes, his past seeps into our relationship in unexpected ways. Adam has always been a bit of a flirt. At first, I tried to brush it off, telling myself that it was just part of his personality. He has a way of making people feel comfortable and appreciated, and while I know he loves me, sometimes it feels like he enjoys the attention a little too much. The more time we spent together, the more I noticed this behavior, and it started to make me uncomfortable. The flirting began to bother me more as our relationship progressed. It wasn't just harmless banter. It was the way he would light up when talking to other women, the lingering touches, and the playful compliments. I tried to ignore it at first, telling myself that I was just being paranoid and that I needed to trust him. But as someone who already struggles with jealousy, it was like a constant thorn in my side. There was one incident in particular that stands out in my mind. We were at a friend's party and I noticed Adam chatting with a girl named Jessica. They were standing a little too close, and I could see the chemistry between them from across the room. My heart sank as I watched them laugh and exchange flirty looks. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, but the more I watched, the more I felt the familiar pang of insecurity. Later that night, I confronted Adam about it. He brushed it off, saying he was just being friendly and that I had nothing to worry about. He told me that I was overreacting and that I needed to learn to trust him. Part of me wanted to believe him, but the other part couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. I have to admit that my insecurities play a big role in how I perceive Adam's behavior. Growing up, I never felt like I was good enough for anyone, and I constantly compared myself to others. My mother always seemed to find fault in everything I did, which left me feeling inadequate. To this day, I struggle with self-esteem issues and find it hard to believe that someone could truly love me for who I am. In my past relationships, I was cheated on multiple times, and the betrayal left deep scars. I found it difficult to trust men, and I often questioned their intentions. When I met Adam, I thought things would be different. He seemed genuine and loving, and for the first time, I felt like someone truly cared about me. But as our relationship deepened, my insecurities started to resurface, and I began to doubt everything. Despite Adam's assurances, I found it hard to shake my distrust of other women. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's like this ingrained belief that any woman who talks to Adam is a threat to our relationship. I've tried to talk to him about my feelings, but he usually just reassures me that I have nothing to worry about and that he's committed to me. But it's not just his flirting that bothers me, it's the way he seems to enjoy the attention. I've caught him exchanging flirty texts with women from work and commenting on their social media posts in a way that makes me uncomfortable. He tells me it's all innocent, but it feels like he's crossing a line. Adam's past also contributes to my anxiety. He has a history of getting into fights and has been arrested a few times for minor offences. He's always been honest with me about it, saying that he's worked hard to leave that life behind. But sometimes I worry that his past might come back to haunt us. There was an incident a few months ago when Adam got into a heated argument with a guy at a bar. It escalated quickly, and before I knew it, they were throwing punches. I was terrified, and it brought back memories of my own abusive past. I know Adam didn't mean to scare me, but it was a stark reminder of the violent world he once belonged to. Recently, we attended my cousin's wedding, and what happened there has left me questioning everything. The reception was in full swing, and everyone was having a good time. I was feeling particularly anxious that night, trying to push my insecurities aside and focus on enjoying the evening. But as the night went on, I couldn't help but notice Adam chatting with one of the bridesmaids, a beautiful woman named Rachel. They were at the bar, laughing and talking animatedly, and I could see the familiar sparkle in Adam's eyes. My heart sank as I watched them, feeling like I was witnessing a scene I had seen too many times before. I tried to ignore it, telling myself that I was overreacting and that I needed to trust Adam. But it was like a car crash. I couldn't look away. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore, and I approached them, trying to play it cool. Adam introduced me to Rachel, and she seemed nice enough, but the way he looked at her made me feel invisible. I forced a smile, trying to act like everything was fine, but inside, I was seething with jealousy. Later that night, I confronted Adam again. I asked him why he felt the need to flirt with other women when he had me. He rolled his eyes, saying I was being ridiculous and that he was just being friendly. But it didn't feel friendly to me. It felt like he was crossing a line, and I was tired of feeling like I was second best. This brings me to why I'm writing this post. I'm at a crossroads and don't know what to do. On one hand, I love Adam and want to believe that he's the person I'm meant to be with. On the other hand, I can't ignore the feeling that his flirting is more than just innocent fun and that my insecurities are tearing us apart. I've tried to talk to him about how I feel, but he usually just brushes it off, telling me that I need to trust him and that I'm overthinking things. But how can I trust someone who seems to enjoy the attention of other women so much? How do I know if I'm just being paranoid or if there's something more going on? Part of me wonders if I'm projecting my own insecurities onto Adam and making a big deal out of nothing. But another part of me can't shake the feeling that I'm right to be concerned and that I'm ignoring the red flags because I'm afraid of losing him. I've been thinking about talking to a therapist about my issues, but I'm not sure if that's the right step. I want to work on myself and learn to trust Adam, but I also need to know if my concerns are valid and if I should be worried about his behaviour. So, dear readers, I'm asking for your advice. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How do you deal with jealousy and insecurity in a relationship? Should I trust Adam and work on my own issues? Or is this a sign that something's wrong in our relationship? Any insights or advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to read my story and for any guidance you can offer.